Franco Colapinto's latest performance in Silverstone has raised serious concerns, not just about his qualifying struggles, but about his future with Alpine altogether. What was supposed to be his final shot at proving himself might have slipped right through his fingers. Reports before the British Grand Prix hinted that Alpine would give the young Argentinian one last opportunity to make an impression. And based on how things played out, that window may have now closed. The situation surrounding Alpine's second seat is anything but stable. While Pierre Gasly has shown consistency, the team is still searching for a solid partner who can bring in results, or at the very least, keep the car on track. So far, that hasn't happened. None of Gasly's teammates have added even a single point to the scoreboard this season, and it seems the team is running out of patience. With Flavio Briatore stepping in as team principal, there's an urgent push to shake things up. One of the most talked about names in recent weeks is Sergio Perez. The experienced Mexican is widely rumored to be in discussions with multiple teams, and Alpine might just be one of them. Another name that keeps surfacing is Valtteri Bottas. The team is believed to be weighing its options, comparing these seasoned veterans to their current talent pool. Colapinto, despite showing flashes of potential during his time with Williams, hasn't managed to repeat that performance at Alpine, and that's where the doubts are beginning to creep in. The team had high hopes, but a series of disappointing results, topped off by a costly crash at Silverstone, have added pressure on both Colapinto and the management. Now the question Alpine faces is whether to continue investing time and resources in Colapinto, or to move quickly towards someone who can bring immediate stability and results. The crash in Silverstone wasn't just a minor setback, it was another entry in a growing list of reasons why the team is reconsidering their faith in him. When a driver repeatedly struggles to finish sessions cleanly, it becomes more than just a learning curve, it turns into a liability. And that's a reality Alpine can no longer afford to ignore. Sergio Perez, in contrast, represents experience, under pressure, and a track record that speaks for itself. With teams like Cadillac also showing interest in him for the upcoming seasons, Alpine will need to act fast if they want to secure his signature. The team's recent shift away from Renault power units toward Mercedes engines could be a major selling point. These new engines are expected to lead the performance charts next year, giving any driver joining Alpine a more competitive package to work with. The pairing of Perez with Gasly could offer just the right balance, speed, and experience on both sides of the garage. More importantly, it could lift Alpine from the bottom of the standings. A driver like Perez doesn't just bring driving skill, he brings valuable points, smart racecraft, and a potential financial boost that could be used for further development. For a team currently stuck at the back of the field, even a small improvement in championship position could translate to millions in prize money. Colapinto, despite his talent, hasn't shown he can deliver under pressure. At the very least, Alpine needs someone who can finish races and bring the car back in one piece. That's where Colapinto has fallen short. The last thing a struggling team needs is another DNF on their repair bill. Colapinto spoke to the media after his incident at Silverstone, and while he took responsibility for the crash, his words reflected a level of uncertainty about what lies ahead. "I lost the rear in the final corner. I was getting on the throttle and clipped the wall," he admitted. He went on to say that the weekend had shown some signs of improvement, but overall, it was still far from where he needed to be. Kinds of remarks highlight a bigger issue. Colapinto knows he's falling behind. He's only 22, which means he has time on his side, but Formula One rarely waits for drivers to catch up. Teams expect results quickly, especially those fighting to get out of the lower end of the standings. Right now, Alpine doesn't just need potential, they need performance. What makes things even more difficult for Colapinto is the performance of his teammate. Gasly managed to reach Q3 at Silverstone, setting himself up for a possible points finish, while Colapinto found himself at the bottom of the timesheets once again. When one side of the garage is consistently outperforming the other, questions are bound to be asked. Briatore, known for his no-nonsense approach, is unlikely to accept repeated failures without action, and when options like Perez are available, the pressure only grows. Not only does Perez offer stability, but his presence would also send a strong message that Alpine is serious about turning things around. They're no longer in a position to take risks on unproven talent. Their priority is climbing the standings and securing their place among the midfield. At the very least, what sets Perez apart isn't just his racecraft, it's what he brings off the track as well. Alpine could benefit massively from the commercial side of things if they manage to secure him. The team has been operating under tight financial limitations lately, and a driver with Perez's market appeal can open up new streams of sponsorship and funding. That kind of injection can make a real difference when a team is trying to break away from the bottom of the constructors' table. Now that Alpine is no longer spending a chunk of their budget on Renault engines, they've got room to reinvest in other departments: aerodynamics, reliability, and in-race strategy. These are the areas that have hurt them most in the last 2 seasons, and fresh resources could help turn that around. Having an experienced driver who can give detailed feedback and keep the car competitive throughout the race could be exactly what the engineers need to push development in the right direction. In that sense, a move for Perez isn't a gamble, it's a calculated decision. Bringing in someone with his background is likely to lift the team's average results immediately. Whether or not they move past 8th in the Constructors' Championship, even 1 or 2 spots up the table could translate to millions in additional income. That alone could justify replacing Colapinto. It's clear that the Argentinian came into this role with promise, especially after showing flashes of skill during his time with Williams. But raw speed without consistency doesn't cut it in this environment, and with his record so far, it's hard to make a case for giving him more time. Crashes cost more than just points. They hurt morale, drain budget, and delay car development. Franco Colapinto may still believe he can bounce back, but the reality is much harsher. In Formula One, momentum is everything, and right now, his is heading in the wrong direction. That crash in Silverstone wasn't just another mistake, it was a moment that may have sealed his fate. Meanwhile, Alpine is scanning the paddock, evaluating every possible alternative, and Sergio Perez is firmly on their radar. But Perez isn't the only name floating around. Another strong contender is Valtteri Bottas. While he's currently exploring options with Cadillac for the 2026 season, the timing might just work out for Alpine to step in earlier. Bottas has never been a flashy headline grabber, but his consistency during his years at Mercedes proves he knows how to deliver under pressure. 10 race wins, constant Q3 appearances, and valuable feedback make him a very attractive option for any team in need of a reset. It's worth noting that Alpine's new engine partnership with Mercedes might play a huge role here. Bottas knows these engines inside out, and that kind of technical familiarity could help the team speed up the integration process. Even if the long-term plan is centered around 2026, giving Bottas a season to settle into the car and team could be a strategic move. Bottas himself recently addressed these possibilities. In a recent conversation, he confirmed there had been informal talks, nothing set in stone yet, but the door is definitely open. It started with Briatore showing interest through Toto Wolff, and though nothing has been finalized, both sides seem to be weighing the pros and cons of a short-term deal in 2025 that could lead to something bigger. So, the question Alpine needs to answer now isn't whether Colapinto has talent, it's whether they can afford to keep waiting for him to put it all together. In a results-driven sport like Formula One, patience wears thin fast. That's why names like Perez and Bottas are more than just rumors. They represent a shift in thinking, from taking chances to demanding certainty. Flavio Briatore has made it clear since stepping in that Alpine won't continue in the same direction, and that means no more time for guesswork or underperformance. Perez offers speed, sponsorship value, and experience. Bottas brings knowledge, calmness under pressure, and a proven track record with the very engines Alpine is now using. Both would immediately raise the standard in the garage, something the team desperately needs right now. And while Bottas might seem committed to Cadillac, don't forget how quickly things can change in F1. One right conversation, one smart move behind the scenes, and a deal can be done. If Bottas gets a year to learn the Alpine setup before 2026 kicks off, it could work out perfectly for both sides, especially if Perez chooses to hold out for a more long-term project elsewhere. As for Colapinto, he may still have a future in motorsport, but staying on Alpine's F1 roster is looking increasingly unlikely. With Silverstone possibly being his last shot, the team might already be preparing for the next phase. And that phase doesn't include more rebuilding, it demands results. So now, the spotlight shifts to the Alpine boardroom. Will they take a calculated step forward with a seasoned driver, or gamble once more on potential? One thing is certain, the next decision they make will shape their fate for years to come.